Okay, so today's homework, I want you to do it on paper. Um, so if you see here, I copied down the problems on my piece of paper. And so you've seen these diamond problems before, but I'm just going to go over the rules again, how to figure this out because in this scenario, they're giving you different numbers. So for these diamond problems, or in this case, they call it X marks the spot, you need to figure out which two numbers um, are multiplied together to get the top and then are added to get the bottom. So for the first one, you have 3 times 4 is 12, and then you get 3 plus 4 gives you 7. So you will have to figure out what two numbers multiply to give you 15 and add to give you 8. So one of the strategies that's worked for me, and maybe you can share your strategy, what works for you, but something that works for me is thinking about the factors or the numbers that multiply to give me 15. So I could write those down. So I'm going to write those down. And so I know that 1 times 15 gives me 15. 2 times 7.5, but I'm not going to write that right now. I also have 3 times 5. And then 4 times 5 doesn't give me that. But 4 times, what number gives me 15? There are numbers that could get you that. They're not going to be whole numbers. But if we look at this second option, 3 times 5, it gives me 15. And if I add 3 plus 5, it gives me 8. So here is my solution to that one. So if I would have picked 1 and 5, I need to check, does 1 plus 5 give me 8? And it doesn't. So that's why this one does not work. So now I'm going to move on to letter E, because I want to show you that example where we have 22 on the top and negative 13 on the bottom. So it's actually, I don't know if it's hard for you to see my work or understand it. So I'm going to try to rotate it. Okay, so I can't figure out a different solution. So we're just going to go with this, okay? So we have 22 and negative 13 on the bottom. So we need to figure out what two numbers multiply to give me 22 and then add to give me negative 13. So again, I'm going to start by thinking, okay, what two numbers can I multiply to get 22? And so hopefully you have your multiplication tools, meaning that you know your multiplications, or you have a multiplication table next to you. So it's going to be 2 times 22. 2 times 11. I was thinking about 1. 2 times 11. Obviously, I can always do 1 times itself, so 1 times 22. But if I add or combine these 11 and 2, that gets me 13. But I want it to be negative 13. So if I want it to be negative 13, then they're both going to be negative. So it's going to be negative 2 and negative 11. And if you notice, it's going to work out because a negative 2 times negative 11 gives me positive 22, and negative 2 plus negative 11 gives me negative 13. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go down and do I, letter I. So again, I'm here and I have, let me see. negative 20 on top and negative 1 on the bottom. So what two numbers multiply to give me 20? Negative 20 and add to give me negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and start thinking about what two numbers can I multiply to get 20. So again, you always have 1 times 20. I have 2 times 10. What about 3? So 3, you could find 1, but it's not going to give you a whole number. What about 4? 4 times 5. And then if I keep going, 6, nope, 7, nope, 8, nope, 9, no, and then 10. So then I go back to 10 times 2, which I already have up here, okay? So you need to think, all right, so which one of these, if I add them, would give me negative 1? And you're like, well, none of them, if I look at them, everything's gonna make it bigger. So what about if we subtract them? What about if we subtract them? So if we subtract them, which one gives us 1? 20 minus 1 is not 1, right? That's 19. 10 minus 2 is 8. And what about 5 minus 4? So 5 minus 4 is 1. So now we want to see, okay, so it's going to be these two, 5 and 4. But which one's going to be negative and which one's positive, or are they both negative? So the question is, are they both negative? Am I going to make them both negative? Well, if I do negative 5 times negative 4, that's going to give me a positive 20 over here. So that means that they're not both negative. So one of them needs to be negative and one of them needs to be positive. And so the 5 is going to be negative and the 4 is going to be positive. Why is the 5 negative? It's because when I add these together, I'm supposed to get a negative 1. And so if I add negative 5 plus positive 4, I get negative 1. And so I can give you an example of how to do that. I'm going to use positive and negative tiles since that's what we're using. So I'm going to draw negative 5 tiles. So remember that negative 5 means that it's not shaded. And then I'm going to do 4 positive tiles. And so if I add these two together, these are going to make 0 pairs. And I'm just going to be left with that negative 1. Okay. So these are 3 examples that I did for you. If you still have questions or do not understand, please send me an email. The expectation is that you try to do all of them for extra credit. So I always expect you to do the most and try the best. But if you're unable to do them, I want you to at least complete 8 problems, okay? Okay.